What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Now, before we get into the interview, this is the deck list that he uses to get top 8 at Ontario Provincials. I know it's not states, it's provincials if I said it correctly. But as you see, it is a primal Groudon with Dusknoir. And this is no April Fools, this is no like kidding, like joking around like the Eevee's deck. This is a real deck. This is the deck that he used to get top 8. Of course, Primal Groudon has God Volcano, does 100 damage, plus 100 more of the stadium card in display. In play, and you discard that stadium. But with Dusknoir, you have the ability Shadow Void. As often you like during your turn before you attack, you may move 1 damage counter from one of your Pokemon to this Pokemon. So, let's say they smack your Groudon for 230 because you have a Focus Sash on them, they can't one-shot it. Of course, Focus Sash makes it where you have 10 HP left, and the Focus Sash gets discarded. Well, if they do that, you can just move all the damage to a Dusknoir, use Max Potion, move all the damage to a Dusknoir again, then Max Potion, and then you got a freshly new Groudon ready to go. And yeah, that's why this deck is so good. You can just have Primal Groudons with full HP, keep swinging, and you can just attach new Focus Sashes to it and keep doing it that way. And as you see, he has Wailord EX, and I've never covered this card at all, but Wailord EX has 250 HP. That's all you need to know. If I could like cover the card up and cover Water Veil and High Breaching, I didn't know he has 250 HP, and the reason why is because you usually just stall with Wailord EX in the active spot. So you stall with Wailord EX while you build up a Primal Groudon and your Duskulls and your Dusknoirs. And she is a 4-4-3 line, so it's very thick, but the deck is slow. You're not swinging with Primal Groudon to turn 3 or 4, so that's why the deck is the Dusknoirs is very thick line. So, like I said, you stall with Wailord in the active, and then you put Primal, then you manually attach your energy to Primal Groudon. Then as soon as you have the Primal Groudon in the active, you kind of just win from there. And let's go over I'll go over some things. I don't want to ruin too much about the interview. The interview is really good also. So Silent Lab is really good. He talks about a lot. And as you see, there is 1 Plasma Energy. And I'm not going to ruin it. You're going to have to watch the interview to know why he plays 1 Plasma Energy. It is really, really spooky. And I love it. It is probably one of the best decks in the deck. Not going to lie to you. You know, it has time maps so you can see what your prize cards are. And besides that, 3 Rainbow Energies, and that's because you play the 2 Fairy Gardens, so you have free retreat. So when you have a Primal Groudon finally ready to go, you can attach the Rainbow to Wailord, and just free retreat that way, which is pretty cool. Besides that, the deck, I want to say it looks straightforward, but it's not a straightforward deck, if you know what I'm saying. But hopefully you enjoy, you will enjoy this interview, and thanks for watching. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today we're doing another States question and answer video with
Rob Davies.
And Jackson Davies.
Okay, and what tournament did y'all play at last weekend?
The Ontario Provincial Championships.
Okay, and did y'all both play at the events?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So we saw a look at your deck before we started this interview, and it's really crazy deck. But before we get into it, how'd y'all end up doing a Swiss?
Personally, I went 3-2. And just made cut.
Okay. Now,
made cut 7th seed. He made cut. He, to be honest, when it came down to it, we overlooked a deck, and that deck was played very highly in his division, which made things very difficult for him. Not so much in my division.
And just like it's a setup deck, I didn't have any playtesting against it, so I didn't really know what to do in the matchup.
And what deck are y'all talking about?
Evital variants.
Evital variant with Toad.
Okay.
With Toad. Ones that played heavy Toad that it was possible for them to trainer lock you on the first turn. That's, if we couldn't get the Focus Sash put on Groudon, trainer lock didn't hurt us, but the Focus Sash did, because Yveltal had the opportunity to one-shot you, and you needed to one-shot Seismitoad, so Yveltal had the opportunity to one-shot you. Unlike the other Seismitoad decks, they weren't really an issue. If they locked you, you know, I didn't even care if I was Headringer. I'd put the 5 energies on and just one-shot everything in my path from there on in, right?
Sure, yeah. But what were the decks y'all played against?
My Swiss consisted of 2 fairy builds. One was a box and one was straight fairies. A virgin. Night March. I'm missing something.
You led me to another
Oh,
match.
a Manetric Wyvettle,
Okay.
and then I ID'd my last round. So
And for me, I played against first round against Night March.
Mhm.
Second round, let's see. Second round I faced an Evital. Third round I faced Steel Manetric. Fourth round another Evital, and the fifth round I played against Straight Fairies.
Okay. Now, so y'all both made top cut, correct?
yeah.
Now, what happened in the top cut?
I faced a bad matchup, and
He was eliminated.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I slept in. Showed up 5 minutes late from only receiving a single game loss,
Mhm.
but I received a double game loss and was DQ'd from the tournament.
I'm sorry about
Surprise
that.
is no points.
Yeah, it was a tough one because I had 2 auto wins going into the
finals.
finals. So I had Fairies as my first. It was actually the American. I'm not sure what his name was. He was a nice guy. He was my first matchup. He ended up going on to win the event.
Okay.
Fairies is my easiest matchup of all meta decks. And then I faced Curtis Lyon that had Seismitoad with no other attackers. Just Seismitoad Garbodor, which is a...
Yeah.
I don't need my Dusknoirs because it takes him 5 hits to knock me out, right? By then I've
Yeah.
steamrolled this whole deck. So,
That's very true.
yeah.
And especially considering he needs less than 100 points to qualify, that was
Yeah.
real big losing all the points.
Yeah, it was a big hit.
Yeah,
But
that
whatever.
stinks. Yeah, that's true. But okay. So y'all keep talking about deck and like what the decks that have like auto wins. What are the decks you think have like auto win with this deck? If that makes sense.
Pretty much every deck in the format.
Mhm.
The meta decks that are played that have a chance against this are Landy Bats because they can void the focus stash, right?
Okay.
But we could play around that, right? I would sit back. They can't Lysander me, so I just sit back and let Wailord take hits. And when I'm ready, I retreat Wailord, Lysander the threat, and knock it out.
Okay.
That was the goal for that matchup. But we ended up not seeing... Landy Bats was not popular there whatsoever.
There was only one in my division, and they made top 8, but I never seen them the whole tournament. So,
Okay. Now, besides the Seismitoad Evital matchup, what else is hard that y'all think?
probably Virgin. Just because it's super effective on your Groudon, super effective on your big wall Wailord.
But we did have a tech for that, which was pretty dirty, and I ended up 6-0ing one in Swiss.
And which deck was that?
Okay, this is Virgin.
Okay, yes.
So, if you noticed that we had a plasma energy in there,
Mhm.
so the goal was against Virgin was to set up as normal, right? Get your focus stash out and Silent Lab as soon as possible. It's no secret that Silent Lab shuts them down, but it's no secret to them, so they play a counter stadium, right?
Okay.
So the plasma energy would be the first energy you attached when he became primal, so it couldn't be an enhanced, right? So now their choice is, if I replace that stadium and red signal him, he has no weakness.
That's really true. Yeah.
And because Groudon has that one colorless energy for his attack, it didn't matter what energy we put in there. See, we didn't expect Genesect in his division, so we put another Fairy energy so he could retreat with Fairy Guardian.
And in the end, there was no Genesect in my division.
Okay. All right. So in your list, you play 4 strong and 3 rainbow. Why was that? Like, why didn't you play any fighting?
Well, the Rainbow, the damage counter didn't really matter, right? And they can't enhance hammer, so we played 2 Fairy Garden for retreat.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Instead of any float stones or switches or things like that.
so when you played against a deck like, if Dialga came up and hit you so you couldn't attack, which we thought we would see more Dialga too, well, I just can't attack, right? And so I would just retreat into Wailord and then come back and blow someone up, right? That was it would take longer to beat them, but in the end it was the same result.
Okay. Now, how come y'all chose computer search over scramble switch?
We build one attacker, and that same attacker is the only attacker that we play the entire game. So one Groudon will last you the whole game.
Okay.
I'm not scramble switching into Wailord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true.
And plus, with the 4 Karinas, you get to search for a fighting Pokemon, and if you don't have like a Juniper or any supporter to draw cards for next turn, you can get the computer search for a supporter next turn.
Right.
That's very true.
The computer search was big because it could pull out the 1-ups, right? So it helped me in the Virgin matchup, where I had said in the post, in Game 1, he wasn't really watching. He just saw me making energy attachments, right? And I had Silent Lab up, which I'm sure he expected, right? Anything that had weakness to it, they put the Silent Lab up. So when I attached the energies, one by one, I had snuck the Plasma in on, I think, the second energy attachment. So after he Emerald Slashed, he replaced the stadium and red signaled me and announced the knockout, right? And when I told him that it wasn't a knockout and explained that I had the Plasma, he was very, very upset. And in Game 2, I got the same setup early, and he scooped. And
and for those who don't know, he's talking about Plasma Frigate too. So
yes.
Yes, okay. Alright, so y'all played a really heavy Dusknoir line with no rare candies. Why did y'all decide to go with no rare candy route?
The deck set up really slow. There wasn't really any point, and expecting Toad, there wasn't really much point. So the deck was built more like a Landorus Crobat deck.
You kind of just evolve one by one, instead of just quick rare candy.
The deck could run with one. It could run with one Dusknoir when it's not under trainer lock because, well, you just max potion everything that comes off of it. But yeah, I mean, you understand the strategy of the deck, right? It's pretty simple. It was very difficult to play and very difficult to set up, especially under pressure. But yeah, you put the Wailord up, stall, he just walls there, right, while you max potion him, and you get your Dusknoirs out, and you get your energy attachments. But the second you have, you can let Wailord die, or you can save him by retreating, whatever you want to do. If they haven't taken 3 prizes by the time you set up, you win the game.
Okay.
They can't Lysander win. They can't do anything. And of course, Anglash and Safeguards are shut down by Silent Lab, and it's very easy to Lysander Trump and start the game over.
Okay. Now, you keep talking about like the deck is really long. If you somehow lose Game 1, does the deck usually go to like a tie?
If I'm gonna lose Game 1, I would know that early. And I would just scoop. It doesn't really lose to anything. Squeaky, it doesn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't lose to anything. So if I want to play the game out, I'll win most of the time. The only way they really take prizes once I'm set up is off the bench, and I'm gonna blow someone up every single turn. And by the end of the game, I just stack them with the 4 strong energies, so that I'm doing 180 with or without the stadium.
Okay. That's really true. Now, was there anything in the list that y'all missed or wanted to like include?
Yes.
Okay.
If I was to do it again, I'm not exactly sure how I would get it in. Mr. Mime wasn't that useful because Landy Bats wasn't around. Didn't really affect any other matchups as far as I was concerned.
No. I put him down a lot of the matchups, but they never did any damage to the bench.
I put it down because I ran 4 Colress and it just got you so many cards, right?
Yeah, sure.
But I would put it in a Dedenne. And for the matchup, because when Toad locks you and you haven't got the Focus Stash out, it's not the Toad that you're afraid of. It's those 4 turns that I'm building Groudon, they're building Yveltal on the bench. And that's how he eventually lost his matches, was the same way.
Okay.
So if I don't get the Focus Stash on, I knock out Toad, he knocks out my only attacker, I gotta start the game over. Now he just sits there and just builds this ridiculously fat Yveltal, and he would sweep me, right?
Yeah.
Fortunately, I didn't have this happen to me, and with 4 Karinas, it's quite easy to get your Focus Stash out on the first turn.
Okay.
But, yeah, that was the weakness of it. But if one Dedenne sat on the bench,
they'd be scared to build an enormous Yveltal to kill your Groudon.
It changes the outcome of the game.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, whether I use him or not, it changes how he plays, knowing that I can knock him out with 1 energy.
That's very true. Alright, so I got a question for both of y'all. So out of the one-ofs, which is one Plasma Energy, one Escaper, one Town Map, one Mr. Mime, a Silent Lab, and then the Xerosic Lysander trump card, which one was y'all's favorite, like, one-up card?
I'd have to say Town Map by far. By far. I blow someone up every turn, so, you know, I can pull what it's like, hey, choose one of these 6 cards, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's almost like a teammates.
Yeah.
Except I get it for knocking you out. What would you say?
Probably Lysander's Trump, because after, like, when you play decks with Lysander Trump in them, it's like something that happens to you when you play. You just start playing aggressive, sycamoring away like half your energies on turn 1. Then, I remember after Provincials, I tested with someone else's deck, and then I asked them what was in it, and I found out there was no Trump. Half my energies were in the discard, and I couldn't win.
Yeah, it allows you to play more aggressive than usual.
That's very true. Alright, well, so how much CP are y'all both at right now?
I'm at 395.
Very nice.
I can't remember. I think I'm at 207. So, you know, if things went the way I had hoped they did, I would have been in the finals and would have had my inviter awfully close to it. Which I'm not that concerned, to be honest. If you ask any of the Ontario players, I will play in every event and I will compete with everything I got. But I couldn't care less whether I play Worlds because I want to be there for my son, right?
That's very true.
I played Worlds once with them and I didn't enjoy it because I was always worried about him, right?
Sure.
For me at Worlds, it's like everything explodes. I'm pretty dominant in most tournaments, but at Worlds, if you go back in time, I don't think I've ever won 4 games in a World Championships.
Yeah.
I can never do well in Worlds.
That's right.
I didn't win 4 last year either, so that's okay.
No.
How many, are you going to go to any states this weekend come up?
I'm trying everything I can to get Jackson to the Quebec Provincials, but I'm uncertain because I have to work. That's what screwed up everything for my top cut was work. But I had worked midnights the night before, and so starting, you know, in the end, I was up for 2 days without sleep. It's incredible. I'm not even capable of that, but somehow I did it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Up for 2 days, and then I got home at 2 a.m. and had to be back in my chair at 8:15. And yeah,
that's crazy.
Sleep gods got me too hard there.
Now, if for some reason y'all do play next weekend, would y'all stick with this deck, or is there another deck y'all think about playing?
It's a hard decision. It's a hard decision. It's out there now, right? And you know, I posted in that little thread on Facebook, and I truly meant it. A whole day of playing this deck could put you in a mental institute. You're under fire the whole time, and the decisions you make for you know, your setup and losing some of your resources. I know you can get them back, but play a game with it. Test with it, Squeaky.
Okay, I will.
It's insanely stressful, and you always feel like you're walking on pins and needles until you're set up. And then when you're set up, your chest comes out, and it's like...
I stay up until midnight anyway. And this tournament, since my dad had to play Swiss, we ended up getting home around midnight. Now, even though I didn't exercise or do anything like that, I still felt like I was dead. Just playing with that deck.
It's a mental breakdown. Like I said to you, some other players had the list, and they chose not to play it. It's very difficult to play, and when you don't get the perfect starting hand, it gets even more stressful, right? So the decisions are quite big, and I got lucky with a couple decisions, got through some rounds, and all was good. I had some pretty epic matchups, and pretty embarrassing ones for my opponents, right? But
like the evil focus stash.
Yeah, I was in one matchup, and I told him I'd give him a shout out too. But it was Evital Manetric, and I set up the first game and dominated, right? And I just walked through everything. I don't think he took a prize. I don't think there was any damage on my field whatsoever by the time the game was done. But in game 2, I decided to... I was in trouble because I couldn't get all the damage off him, and he had a fat white metal. So I decided to retreat Groudon manually.
Okay.
Because I had no stadium, I'd blown them all out, right? I retreated them manually, max potion Groudon on the bench, and decided to rebuild them and start the game over with a fresh Wailord up front. He goes with this big fat white metal, knocks out Wailord in like one shot, right?
That's crazy.
He's got like every energy in his deck on this thing, nothing surviving. So I trumped that turn, right? After attaching an energy to Groudon, max potion trump. So next turn they call time. So how did it work? I was turn 0, 1, 2. Yeah, so I was turn 0, and I had Groudon active with a rainbow and a strong fighting.
Mm-hmm.
He had this massive freaking fat metal, right?
Also, the Groudon did have a ringer on it.
So I top decked. Yeah, I had a ringer on it too. Yeah. So I top decked Dusknoir.
Mm-hmm.
Put the Dusknoir down, Juniper, got myself a Fairy Garden, retreated into Dusknoir, so he can't Lysander him, right?
Sure.
So this is turn 0. He obviously knocks out Dusknoir with his billion energies. So I promote my Groudon for his last turn with 2 energies.
Mm-hmm.
Exerstick my head ringer and put Focus Dash on and say, gee, right? It was the most epic ending. And sadly, what was going on there too was I had kind of hyped this deck up saying that this is going to be my house this weekend, and right? And so every game, it was like, there must have been 10, 20 people around the table every game. When they were finished, they came over to see what the hell was in my deck, right?
True.
Yeah, so it was pretty funny for a poke dad to get that attention, but
yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good deck. I always like Groudon. I had fun with it in Florida, so just seeing the Dusknoir just looks amazing.
Well, it makes it a little broken.
Yeah. Now, did you ever want like a third Groudon, a third Primal for some odd reason, if like both were ever prized, or did you never had that situation?
No, never had the situation, and even if you are put in that situation, you can still knock something out with regular Groudon with a Focus Dash on it.
Sure. Personally?
Right? And then because of town map, you can take them out of your prizes, and then you just retreat and start over, right?
Personally, I was playtesting against Primal Kyogre, and I played town map on turn 1, both Primals were prized, and I just got 4 strong onto a Groudon with a Focus Dash, just smashed every Pokemon, and ended up taking a couple prizes, ended up winning that game.
There you go.
Perfect.
That's how you do it.
Not needed. 3 Groudons are needed.
What?
I would put a third Wailord in before I did that.
Our
Wailord is MVP. When someone hits it 3 times and thinks they're going to knock it out next turn and you max potion it, you know, it's like ripping their heart out, right? They just work so hard at it. And
being honest, I was kind of lucky. I was playing against Night March, and this guy had like, I'd say 10 Night Marchers in the discard.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I have my Wailord in the active. He does 200. I top deck a max potion and play it. I'm still drawing dead. Next turn, 200, top deck another max potion. Next turn, get a supporter, play it, get the last max potion.
yeah, if you noticed, it had a very high supporter count, right? So when you had your setup, that meant like all the Pokemon were out of your deck, and I was end like a ton of times at the end of the game in hopes. I was ended to 1 and 2 all the time, and I always drew a supporter because that's basically all that's left in my deck is a billion supporters, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Was there ever a moment y'all wanted the escape rope to be a switch at all, or no?
I don't think it ever mattered because I didn't really, for the most part, I didn't care what my opponent did. As long as my deck did what it was supposed to do,
Sure.
I really couldn't care less, right? I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't be one shot, if I used Escape Rope, it was always to put Wailord in the active. So on turn 1, my big play, the common play, was Karina for my Groudon and Escape Rope, and hope that I had an Ultra Ball to get my Wailord out, or I just had it. That was the ideal turn 1. I didn't even care if I had Dusknoirs. I don't even care if I attach an energy. It's okay if I don't even attack till turn 7, turn 8. I'm being honest. As long as I can deny the prizes until that happens, it wins the game.
Okay.
Another thing, if you're playing the deck, watch out for Duskull's attack. I was playing against Genesect, and it was just a fun match. I couldn't win the game, so I brought up Duskull, and he Junipered away a Jirachi on turn 1, and I used his attack to put Jirachi on his bench.
Thinking of that, the versatility of it, I actually, I think it was round 2, I played Toadfluff. And I had started with Duskull and couldn't get him out of the active. I had everything going on the bench. I just couldn't get him out of the active because I wanted my energy attachments on Groudon.
True.
So I evolved to Dusclops and Confuse Raid Toad, and I went Untrainer Lock next turn.
It's very nice.
Got a couple Ultra Balls off or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to give any shout outs to anybody or anything?
Actually, you know what? All of Ontario. My boy Curtis Lyon, he's out there. I'm sure he's watching. Jason Lum. And honestly, Marvin Labunza, he's the one that helped us make this deck. He was a big part of it. He was the only person we shared with. And that dude kept a secret, man. Everyone was all over him, and he kept it a secret. No one knew. I can't believe it. I couldn't have done that for you, Marvin. I would have had to leak it to someone, like, don't tell no one, but this is what it is.
This is the play.
Another thing is shout out to Landon, who won the Junior Ontario Provincials. He played Yveltal, Toad, Garbodor, so...
And if I can just say one more, we lost our face of Ontario, Matthew Koo. He moved to China to teach, and he is the face of our community, and he'll be hugely missed. So if
he's the leader of Team Lucario.
if I had one shout out, it goes to Matthew Koo.
Well, hopefully he sees this.
That's it. And to you, my friend, for doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you so much.
A lot of our testing lists come from you. Right?
Well, no, it's people like you, like whoever give the list and want to do the interviews. That's what makes it so good. Yeah. So
this makes it an opportunity to do it, right? And gives an opportunity to you remember next time someone's playing Groudon Dusknoir, it came from here. Here.
That's very true. Well, thank you all so much for doing this, and good luck in your rest of your tournaments.
Thanks, man. You too.
Thanks.
Alrighty, bye.